Hey guys, this is tutorial number 4. I'm going to go over, I was going to do some more programming, but I think before we get too deep into that, I want to get into some of the little miscellaneous effects, little things here and there, just to make your scene a little bit prettier. Now remember from last video, we had a working character. He can move around the world, just rotate, blah blah blah. He can't really do much else, look up or down or anything like that. So, and by the way, when I go to play, the way I get this full screen here is I just click maximize on play. That way you get the whole screen. So let's do a couple of things. Let's wait on the camera looking and stuff like that for now. Let's make a skybox. A skybox is basically a 360-degree spherical texture that basically um, replicates the sky, as the name implies. So the way you can do it, one way is you can take the main camera, the camera your character is looking through, and we're going to attach it to it. So it's a component. So we go to components and then rendering. And under rendering, there's something called skybox. So you click on skybox and it's been applied, but if we go to play, you'll notice that nothing really is happening because we haven't defined the texture. So we click on this little circle here so we can choose one. And the default material library has a couple built in. I'm going to go with one called Sunny Sky 2. And now you notice when I go to play, I have a sky. Pretty nice. So let's add a little bit more flair to that, and that's a pun, as you'll see in a second, because we're going to add a lens flare. I know, I'm so funny. Anyway, so the way we do that is we create, remember how we created earlier these different objects? Well, there's one up here that we didn't use called empty. This is literally just a placeholder. There's nothing in it, doesn't look like anything, doesn't do anything. But the reason you make it is so you can apply different components to it. In this case, another rendering component we're adding to it, and it's going to be a lens flare. So here it is, it pops up with an icon now, and you can choose the color of your flare, but first you have to choose a texture. Again, you click the little circle, and these three are built into the standard assets. You can always make your own or download more. I'm going to use a 50mm zoom, and then you can choose a color. So I'm going to go with a bright orange, and the brightness, I'm going to turn it down a little bit actually, 0.8. And then, so remember, it's right here in this back corner, so we go to play, it's right behind us. So I'll turn around, and there it is. So now we have a sun in our scene. Now again, because of the way it's placed, it looks a little weird, but you can always play with that. But now when you turn, you see a little flare. And then, like I was saying earlier, you can't really move much. You can't move your camera around, so there's a script built into here. Now remember, you can always make your own scripts, but there's one that's already built in, so why don't we just use that? So again, we take our camera, and we want to apply another component to it, which is under camera control, and it's called mouse look. So this is gonna basically, you move around with your arrows, but with the mouse you're gonna be able to look around. So let's leave it at the default settings here and see what it does. So we play, and now we can move our camera in every direction. Now this can be a little disorienting because there's no way to lock it back to the original position. Plus, nobody can really turn their head like that. So um, let's change the settings here a little bit. So we're going to leave the script alone, although you could always go in there and change all of this stuff manually. But we're going to use the settings they have here for us. So we just want it to move along the y-axis so you can look up and down. It was a little too sensitive, so we're going to turn it down here to 5. And you don't have to change the X because we're disabling it, but might as well. And we want a maximum of 90-degree viewing angle, so you can't tilt your head all the way back. Actually, I think I set the X. Nope, set the Y. See, so now I can't move side to side. I do that by turning my character, but I can look up and down. And again, I can't turn my head all the way back. It's limited at 90-degree angle. So that gives you a little more freedom, and again, if you were doing a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter, this is something that would be helpful. And let's see what else we have here. So one last thing I wanted to show real quick is something I kind of mentioned earlier was the particle system. Now what I did there, again, I went to create game object, create other, particle system. And then this particle system, you can place it wherever you want, and it kind of gives you a preview of what it's going to look like. And you have a ton of settings for this, but they're not actually all that complicated. You have emit, which basically turns it on and off. And you have the size of your particle, so the minimum size. Remember, this is kind of random, so you can set it 0 to infinity or 0.1. Let's set it between 1 and 2. Actually, I'm going to set it between 0.1 and 1, just so you can see what's going on here. Then you can set the energy with which they appear. You can change their maximum emission. So let's set it to a minimum of 20. It will never spawn less than 20, but it'll never do more than, let's say, 40. So here you see the individual particles popping up. Let's set a velocity to that. So let's say it's like a smoke or something that's going to move up on the y-axis. So we set that to 1, and now you see how they're kind of flying up into the air, but they keep coming out. And here we can change the color, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down a little bit further. I'm going to ignore all of these for now. You can play with these. But here under materials, so you open up your materials and you go to here, the default particle, which is just this little white dot thing. And you see what they have here. We were going to do smoke. See what if they have any smoke. So here's some built-in smoke. Okay. Actually, let's do some bubbles. Because bubbles are great. Okay, so we have a soap bubble. So here we are. And that's only going to animate while it's selected. So if you go to play here, you can see what it looks like. And then we turn around and there's some pretty little bubbles coming up. And you can see how this would be helpful to make, fire, smoke, I mean, whatever you want to do. And through scripts, we can actually randomize their movement in space, and then we can actually apply some physics to those, but that's for a later tutorial. For now, you can play with these different things, maybe create your own skyboxes. You can open up the folder and kind of see how these things look. You can kind of look at what they have done and kind of try to replicate it. So you can actually go to your documents. It's going to be different for everybody, I believe, but for the most, I think usually it installs it under your documents, Unity projects. When you save your project, you'll have your project there. This is just the bootcamp demo that comes with it, but you can kind of get an idea of where to find all this stuff. So you go here, there's terrains, meshes, materials, prefabs, textures, buildings, there's all this stuff, but here's the skybox that they used. You can open that, see what it looks like, and try to make your own, or just edit that one. And I mean, there's basically all of the files right there that were used. So you can take those and play with them and see what they did, and have some fun, see what you can come up with.